Home Office ministers fear the Lib Dems may veto the latest version of the so-called Snoopers Charter. They're privately warning none other than Nick Clegg, you're taking a major risk at a time of terrorist attacks. Theresa May has redrawn her Snoopers Charter legislation and now is getting ready to battle it out at the Queen's speech. It all sounds very tense there, Mr. Clegg.
Well, look, what people have dubbed the Snoopers Charter, I just have to be clear with you, that's not going to happen. In other words, the idea that the government will pass a law which means there would be a record kept of every website you visit, of any, who you communicate with on social media sites, that's not going to happen, and it's certainly not going to happen with Liberal Democrats in government. We all committed ourselves at the beginning of this coalition government to learn the lessons from the past, where Labour overdid it, try to constantly kind of keep tabs on everybody. We have a commitment in the coalition agreement not to end the storage of email and internet information unless there's a very good reason to do so. Of course we need to support, and I've spoken to senior police officers and people from the security service, of course we need to support them. They've got very significant powers already, which I support them in deploying to go after criminals, to keep us safe. There are technical issues about how, as technology changes, you've got to update that. So, for instance, we've all got more and more mobile devices, but there aren't enough IP addresses to go around, and we need to straighten that out, and that's clearly something the government will do, and we'll work with the police and others to do so. But this idea of a Snoopers Charter, as it's been dubbed, where a law is passed where there's a record kept of all the websites that you visit, of who you communicate with on social media sites, I'm afraid I think that is not either necessarily workable and nor proportionate, so it's not going to happen.
OK, Lib Dem sources say Clegg, whose previous intervention sent May's original draft bill back to the drawing board, is examining new proposals to see if he can back them as proportionate and necessary.
No, you're right in saying that there was an original proposal from the Home Office.
Is there a middle ground you can tell us about?
Well, as I say, there is work that clearly needs to be done on issues where I think most reasonable people would think you do need to kind of keep up with technology. This issue of making sure that you kind of have an IP address attached to every device, which at the moment, for various reasons, you don't. And the police say that's a big issue. We need to continue to look at that. But I think the kind of, the full-scale approach of basically saying you're going to just scoop up and hoard huge amounts of data, for instance, literally recording every website that you ever visit and everybody visits, so that you've got this great treasure trove of data which you can then dip into if you need to. I don't think the British public will support that. I don't think it's in many ways necessarily workable for various technical reasons. There are large parts of the internet industry, the internet service providers who say it's not necessarily technically feasible. I don't think it's necessarily proportionate. We've got to get the balance right between giving the police, of course, the tools they need to do the job, but to do so in a way that also gets the balance right between liberty and security, between privacy and what law enforcement agencies do.